Yes, kids used to drink from the garden hose in the old days. Believe it or not, even from water fountains. Is it really so shocking? And Michael Snyder reports, yes, when I was growing up, I would drink water directly from the garden hose that was used to water the lawn. In fact, kids all over America would drink water directly from the water garden hose in the old days. It was not a big deal. In fact, if I'd get thirsty later, I might just go outside and take a few sips. Apparently, there are some people on social media that find this quite unacceptable. They seem to think that drinking out of a garden hose is unsafe, and they wonder what we were thinking. Well, the truth is that it was a completely different world back then. The following video really helps to put everything into perspective. He says, couldn't have said that better myself, and you can see right there what it's like for us explaining playing outside to the younger generations. Now, if younger people think that drinking out of the hose is bad, just wait until they learn what else we did in those days. When I was a very young child, I would walk to school completely unsupervised, and I would also walk home completely unsupervised, and that goes for me as well. Now, once I got a little bit older, my parents would let my brother and I pretty much wander wherever we wanted. As long as we were home for dinner, it was okay. And once we learned how to ride bikes, we could go vast distances. Needless to say, there were no bike helmets in those days. If you took a tumble, you got hurt. But that toughened us up. There were also no car safety seats. We just piled up into the back and hoped for the best. And if that had been a major collision, whoever was sitting in the middle seat probably would have flown into the windshield. In those days, we also used trampolines without any safety nets. It was all fun and games until somebody bounced the wrong way. But if someone got hurt, they cried a little bit and they kept on playing. We lived in a world where nothing was child-proofed, and somehow we survived. We would even climb very tall trees without any fear. The outdoors was our playground, and we would play for endless hours under the hot sun without any sunscreen at all. Yes, there were dangers, but we made it through, and we are all still here today. I think that the fact that we pay more attention to safety today is a good thing, but on the other hand, we have taken the coddling of our kids to such extremes that many of them cannot even handle the real world once they get older. We keep them so bottled up and so protected, but in the process, they never develop the toughness that they need to face the harsh realities of life. And we don't challenge our kids very much because we just want them to feel good about themselves. But if we don't challenge our kids, standards start to slip, and over time, the change can be dramatic. For example, Harvard students apparently have a very difficult time with a book that many of us would read in high school when I was young. Students at Harvard now struggle to read The Scarlet Letter, a novel that was once one of those most commonly taught in high school. Young people are very, very concerned about the ethics of representation, of cultural interaction, all these kinds of things that actually we think a lot about. Amanda Claiborne, Harvard's Dean of Undergraduate Education and an English professor, told me last fall she was one of several teachers who described an orientation towards the present to the extent that many students lost their bearing in the past. The last time I taught The Scarlet Letter, I discovered that my students were really struggling to understand it, she said. The college education is definitely not what it once was. In the old days, going to college meant that you would be prepared for a specific profession. Today, parents are spending more enormous amounts of money so that their kids can be taught all about furries. A Boston College professor brought furries into a lecture, instructed his literature students to create their own fursonas. Christopher Polt, associate professor at Boston College, which describes itself as grounded in the ideals that inspired our Jesuit founders. According to his profile on the Institute's website, Polt has taught courses on ancient and modern comedy, nature and the environment in the ancient world, and translation theory and practice, as well as a broad range of language courses from introductory to advanced. Polt currently teaches a class called Beast Literature. So much has changed in just a couple of generations, and the pace of change appears to be accelerating. The relentless march of time does not stop for anyone. No matter how much we may want to go back to the 1950s, the 1960s, 1970s, or 1980s, the truth is that those days are long gone. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. DC Drano tweets people I used to consider a little weird when I was young: homeschoolers, the Amish, devout church people, organic food eaters, anti-big pharma medicine, people who waited until marriage, conspiracy theorists, people who ended up being mostly right the whole time. Now, if our founders could see us today, what would they think? This is a question that I've posed to my readers numerous times. Previous generations of Americans sacrificed so much that we could be here today. Now it's our turn, and we don't want to be the generation that fumbles the ball. This is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, "My name is Michael. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of my books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Snyder on the End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.